So I will try in the next 15 minutes to try to give you a short overview of why European projects are important, how we get into them, and give you some examples of how we try to create a value with these projects. Maybe first of all, for the background, so we are working in Neuchâtel in the topics of solar energy, photovoltaics mostly, but also everything that is related to energy systems and storage. We are working both on EPFL and CSEM, which is more making the technology transfer and industrialization of products. We are in direct contacts and mandates with around 40 companies, and there are around 110 people working right now under various projects. And of course, in order to practice that work, we need to have a lot of infrastructure over close to 2,000 square meters. We are really having a lot of pilot lines, I mean, for making research, for making prototypes, for making products, and even sometimes small production of specific products. And it really goes from solar cell up to testing batteries, or even developing new hardwares for batteries. And this is completed by a lot of facilities for testing the reliability, because when you speak of energy, you want things to work for 10, 20, or 30, or even 40 years, and reliability testing is extremely important. So the global context is the following. As you might know or not, solar will occupy a major role in the coming century. Actually, it might become the electricity source #1, but not only electricity source, but also energy source, if you move your system mostly to electricity and keep hydrogen that you will do with renewables for application where you cannot use electricity, such as long distance transportation, planes, or some other industrial processes. And you can see on this graphic that you will need a lot of photovoltaics if you want to, let's say, reach the Paris Agreement targets. You will need something like 40 terawatt of photovoltaics. That means you need to do much more. And that means you still need to develop the technologies of tomorrow, even if today's technology are already very good. Even the International Energy Agency said solar is the new king. But of course, it comes with challenges, in particular, how to integrate a lot of solar, a lot of wind. But you still need to make it cheaper in order to save on system cost and in order to free more money to manage electricity. In many countries, you have space issues, like in Switzerland, you have heritage, let's say, quality of the environment and of the appearance of cities that is an issue. That's why you need to always target for making new products, high efficiency, and you have all this, say, coupling problem to solve, the intermittency of solar, which is known, seasonal storage, and so on. So this shift to solar electricity, wind electricity, comes with a lot of threat and opportunities, but certainly we will see that the world changes, in particular shifting to electricity with as two major pillars, electric mobility and heat pumps, because the efficiency is much higher than simply using oil. So European funding is fantastic to do a lot of things. First is to create synergies with various partners in Europe. It's also very good to bring direct support and financial support to companies in Switzerland. It's one of the only way to get, let's say, direct financial support. And there are various EU tools for that, but from Swiss institution, it's virtually impossible or extremely challenging. It supports institute, of course, and the administration is at a reasonable level, even though, to be honest, it is not improving. So in order to support the activities of any big research center, research lab, you need a lot of European projects. And actually, these are some of the past projects we had in my laboratory or center at CSEM, so starting from the FP6 up to H2020. And this is just a list. You don't need to know that by heart. Huh? Just to illustrate many projects just ending right now, project continuing in the field of solar cells and materials, new project is just accepted, Marie Curie's fellowship accepted. So we use all the possibilities offered by this European funding. And in the field of energy, grid storage and building, also quite a lot of running projects, some new projects coming, and many new projects that we've seen coming into course very soon. So to give you an order of magnitude, European funding contributes globally for an institution such as CSM at around 12 to 15% of the funding, and maybe in the case of my two institutes, something like 15 to 20% of the annual funding. So how do you try and achieve a successful project acquisition in this project? So my my 7 lessons to do that, that you need first to have a good experienced core team, a good writer. It helps to have support from a professional company. You need to introduce some, let's say, geographical strategy. It helps you have reviewers coming from a lot of countries, or try to find the good partners that create an additional value, but in various countries. For that, you need to create trust, alliances, networks. You know, sometimes you have these networks that bring very little funding, but it is a seed for future projects. And these networks should really contribute effectively to the project, not be alibi. Bring consortium with complementary skills. It helps not to have too much competition. Target value creation. Try always to bring some SMEs, some strong industrial partners. Be very careful to be fully in line with the topics and the TRL level of the calls. It can be really refused because of that. And try to write for a targeted call which really needs your competencies. If you go for FED projects, the competition is very tough. You have maybe 2% acceptance rate. If you go for specific project where you're very strong, you have more chances to be successful. And additional tips that I might give you as bonus tips is, of course, try to influence the call description for your network. So this is something that is legal. You are allowed to do that. Bring the topics in advance so that then you can recognize some of your core competencies inside the call. It helps to be really good in what you do, or to have a lot of friends and be very well connected in the community. And of course, you also need to be lucky and not desperate if you fail, and start again and again. Sometimes, yes, you can have tougher years where you have a lot of rejection. So I will just give you now, to conclude, some examples of what we are trying to do in terms of value creation. One example is issued from many projects that we have in the field of high efficiency photovoltaics, where we collaborated initially with the Meyer-Burger Group. Then we had several European projects that supported, in particular, the Ampere project, which supported us for really installing with Swiss technology new production lines in Sicilia, which are now operating and producing with the Enel Group. So you have new manufacturing line in Europe. The technology was also exported to Singapore, where you have 600 megawatt of production line, producing now beautiful 280 watt modules with above 21% efficiency, which make them really some of the best efficient product on the market. And as you might have heard, now the Meyer-Burger Group is using this technology to ramp up, it says, the only large capacity production line in Europe, targeting a reindustrialization of crystalline silicon solar cell in Europe. And the goal is to go to several gigawatt of production with this technology developed in various European projects. We already have in the pipeline the next technology. For instance, through the next base European project, we could get support to develop a new process where you have all the contacts of the solar cells at the back. We could demonstrate in the lab more than 25%. Now, industrial partners has also certified 25.4% at the solar cell level, and there is an industrialization ongoing for what could be one of the most powerful crystalline silicon products in the future. If you want to further improve the efficiency of the module, and efficiency is very important, it increases every year. So if you want to remain mainstream, you need to at least follow this trend. And if you want to be better, you need to find other approaches. So in order to go further in the efficiency, there are various approaches. And one of these approaches is linked to perovskite. And one way to improve silicon is to put perovskite on top of silicon. You put two solar cells on top of each other. And thanks to the CHEOPS European project, we could, for instance, demonstrate the first solar cells tandem with over 25% efficiency. This was made in my team at EPFL and CSEM. And now one of the CHEOPS partners, company Oxford PV, demonstrated over 29.5% with 1 square centimeter, but it is really remarkable that you can reach close to 30%. And industrialization is ongoing with really a disruptive potential. And of course, many projects also support things such as upscaling these solar cells. And you can see some of our latest results, large solar cell based on perovskite and silicon. Another approach to try to go to higher efficiency is worked out in the European project Hyperion. You can see a nice paper explaining how it works. So this is a kind of micro tracking. So you follow the sun, which is focused on high efficiency solar cell, but you still capture the diffuse light with another standard panel below. And with that, there was already more than 29% efficiency that was demonstrated. And now we are setting up at CSEM with the company Insolite, a kind of pilot line for producing this very advanced technology. So now the final topic in the field of solar is really this sensitivity to nice photovoltaics. So in Switzerland, we don't like when it is ugly, so you want things to be discrete. That's why you have a lot of companies that are active in what we call building integrated photovoltaics. You have at least 12 companies active in Switzerland, and the EPFL and my colleague Laurent Manuel Perret is coordinating the B-Smart project, in which we really try to make this approach of putting nice solar into the building, lower cost, more versatile, more reliable, easier to install. And some of the first highlights is really the capacity now to have very special layers that we can put inside photovoltaics module. And you can see here the first white building with all white photovoltaic modules with things that have been designed in the frame of the project, especially material that comes inside these modules. And another beautiful example under construction is this huge building that includes foil of the company Solaxcel that have been manufactured into module by Trias Solar. In the field of energy system, a lot of projects, for instance, the Pentagon project has helped us develop solutions to really couple efficiently the production and the consumption of various kind of buildings, coupling really your energy and electricity in all its vectorial forms. And this required quite complicated algorithm and software. And now we have really put an online simulator that is available for people to test. And we are really working with various companies. And there are, for instance, from Geminice already commercial solutions that are implemented into buildings that allow much better energy management. And there are many more technology transfer upcoming. Another European project, Sabina, has also helped us develop solutions that are using more, I would say, learning methods for, say, controlling the building much better so that it heats up more efficiently, so that in parallel you give more local flexibility for the grid. And here also we have many industrialization going on, but unfortunately I'm not allowed to speak about that. And to say last thing, sometimes you are not always successful with your project directly, or there is no long-term impact, but you create also a lot of background knowledge. And one nice example, we worked for a lot of time and on many projects with thin film silicon solar cells. Now this is not widespread for, let's say, mainstream photovoltaics, but we could recycle and readapt this technology. For instance, if you like watches, you will have heard of the new Tissot T-Touch Solar Connect. This watch has a solar dial, which is absolutely perfect from an aesthetic point of view. And these dials have been designed and are produced now by our teams in CSEM, and they are really used in thousands of watches that are produced by the Swiss industry. So with that, I'd like to conclude. I think the European tools and hopefully the upcoming new tools in Horizon Europe are fantastic opportunities for creating, developing technologies. This supports the creation of an economical and environmental value, and it provides unique networks and background knowledge that you can really use well beyond the project that are funded. With that, I'd like to conclude.